little bit further. Again, Bunny was waiting for Rogue or NightMare. Likewise, Oliveira is up against Coffee in a TvT. A lot of matches going on, a lot of very high caliber players. That is how things are here for ESL Open Cup Asia. We have the best of the best in Korea facing off against each other. There can only be one. And spawning in the bottom right hand corner of Oceanborn, we have our South Korean Terran player, the Red Terran, representing his new team, Team Falcons. It is Bunny. And spawning in the top left-hand corner, we have his opponent. We have the South Korean Protoss player. The blue Protoss just took down Rogue. Can he take down his next opponent, his next challenger? It is NightMare. Let's go. Here we go. I see in chat, how can the Ultra Cannon be considered as being greedy? Rogue made the hide mercy for Vipers. Yes, if you were listening to the cast, we did talk about how specifically the Vipers were necessary because he scouted the Robotics Bay, if you remember. The greediness of going into Ultras is that he had invested resources into an Ultra Cavern and into Ultra upgrades, whereas those resources were needed elsewhere. They were needed with his main army to survive the initial push. To be fair, we were a little bit surprised by the timing of the push from NightMare and how early it was. And I'm sure Rogue was caught off guard a little bit as well. But that is the greed that I was referring to, in the sense that we were taking up even further past Ling Bane, Roach, Viper into Ultra Tech as a move out was coming, as an attack was imminent. But yeah, that's what we were referring to. In case you were unaware. Catching up in the chat. As the probe gets locked into the main base and is going to be recalled back home. Meanwhile, we're just catching up. Dark Cell are going to the military, so we need a good rogue. True, as we lose one, we gain another, right? Where Dark is soon going to be going to the military, and it does kind of leave an opening for a Zerg player to rise up. I mean, you know, we still have Solar, we still have Shin. DRG has been looking very impressive as of late. Either of them could, of course, step up to take his place as the best Zerg player in Korea. To look forward to seeing how the hierarchy shapes up thereafter, as we are going to be committing here. Bunny, do we? Oh my, okay, I'm excited. Okay, so for those that are curious, this is the new patch. This is the new patch, and this is a build that was killed, essentially. But it looks like it has not died, it has not fallen, it is merely rising from the ashes in another form. Adept is going to be shut down, no scouting into the main base. For those that are curious, the armory no longer allows you to have detection required to deal with Widow Mines. Armory does not cloak Widow Mines. Instead, you need drilling claws, and I believe that's why we have a tech lab. So Bunny, he rushes into the armory like you normally would, but he also gets a tech lab on the factory, and we do have drilling claws on the way, because now drilling claws is required to actually require detection to deal with Widow Mines. So this is a new adaptation, this is a new variation of this kind of cloak rush or armory rush, and a very committed Widow Mine drop here. I'm curious, I haven't seen this yet, as the patch is less than a week old, and this is potentially a new build that can hit the meta, that can be thrown around. I'm curious how viable this is. The downside here is less Widow Mines. Usually with this build, there'd be a reactor. There'd be a reactor on the factory, which means you could pump out 4 and then 8 Widow Mines thereafter, and have just a really fast consecutive drop on the way. Likewise, of course, you're also saving resources, you're not spending as much gas here on this drilling claws, as we are taking a third base behind this. Okay, we're cooking, Bobby, we're cooking. Let's go. We are cooking as the drop is moving out. So we do have a second Widow Mine, getting ready for the second Widow Mine drop. Again, traditionally, this second medevac should have 4 Widow Mines alongside it, but because of the lack of reactor, I don't think that's going to be the case, as it looks like we're stopping, at 1 extra Widow Mine. Very interesting. Mine drop is coming in. Phoenixes do get eyes on this. We're going for the drop. Ooh, one does get borrowed, the other does go off. Yeah, mine shot's going to be connecting. 9 probes go down. Likewise, another mine shot going off in the main. Oh, we don't pull away in time. 17 probes go down. Ay, ay, ay. And where is the detection? Observers on the way, and it looks like it will come out in time. We will clean this up, but that is so much damage being dealt. 17 worker kills. Again, late reactions there out of NightMare. He also lifted up one of his probes by accident, so a little bit of miscontrol. NightMare slipping up. Widowmine, is it going to reset? It will not. Barely does not reset. And with that, NightMare, he's going to be able to clean this up, but we do have a secondary mine drop coming in, this time with 3 Widowmines, not 4. Again, you know, as the build has been adjusted with the new patch. And remember, behind this bunny, he was quite greedy, getting into a much faster third base. I believe it hasn't been seen. I believe it hasn't been spotted. Okay, NightMare has no vision of this yet, as he's moving out with the observer. We do have 2 more observers on the map, though, so we have plenty of detection. Yeah, we have 1 here at the natural, 1 at the third, and 1 across the map. As long as we react in time, we should be okay. As it looks like the Phoenixes, they do manage to catch this Widowmine. These Widowmines even. Force them to burrow. Oh my god. To force them to burrow, we should be able to clean this up here, yeah, with plenty of these Phoenixes. Yeah, we left every single Widowmine up. So much better clean up here by NightMare. But honestly, the opener was worth it, right? It's like, considering we killed 17 workers, that was insane, and Bunny does have the economic lead. We're even in workers plus mules, so Bunny's ahead. Now, because he invested into the third base, it does mean that he doesn't really have much of a secondary push here to move out across the map. He is going to be much more passive defensive here, moving out with the double drop. As he moves out with the drop, here comes NightMare though. NightMare is going to move in. Does spot the drop though with the observer. Pulls back. Pulls back home to deal with it. And NightMare, he should be able to minimize his losses here. He should be able to keep up. Yeah, forces the stim. Oh my god, NightMare, is that... Classic, is that you? As NightMare in the middle of this defense, as he's denying the drop with throwing down a fleet beacon, we're looking to rush into Sky Toss. I'm curious if this is for a second Stargate or if this is for Phoenix range. We have seen some players incorporate Phoenix range and Mass Phoenix and just double down on Phoenix Colossus, like even harder than normal. I'm curious what the fleet beacon's going to be for. There we go, second Stargate now on the way. God, but we barely have anything to protect these Colossi. Bunny stimming on forward. A couple of mine shots going off here on a Phoenix. We did get 1, I believe. 2. There we go. 2 Phoenixes going down. Here we go. Bunny is going to be able to reinforce with a pretty massive army here as well. And again, NightMare, he's been investing into a fleet beacon, second Stargate, +1 carrier production. That's why this army is looking so bare bones. This is his army. 2 Colossi, 2 Stalkers. We're up to 3 Colossi though. We're getting there. Again, NightMare trying to get away with this Sky Toss rush essentially. And so far, Bunny doesn't pull the trigger. He doesn't know. He hasn't seen what NightMare is up to. Doesn't know how vulnerable he is. Mine shot gonna be going up. Did get eyes on that observer. Bunny instead back at home, just focusing on expanding. It looks like Bunny doesn't actually intend to push in. He could have, don't get me wrong. He definitely could have if he had seen how little there was that NightMare had to work with. Instead, Bunny looking to extend his economic lead, which does work out better in the long run. Little does he know, though, that NightMare, he's cutting corners. He's skipping forward here in tech, rushing into Sky Toss. Even though Bunny will have the better economy, NightMare is still going to have the better army. A risky maneuver here out of NightMare, but he's going for it. Did have to take a risk, and so far it's almost paying off. Bunny stepping forward. Doesn't quite commit. Ooh, mind shot going off here. These pieces, they're so battered, they're so bruised. They're so low. And how many carries are we up to? We're up to 3, soon to be 5. Again, the carriers have yet to be revealed. Now, what's important here is that thankfully, because of the Colossus, because of the Phoenixes, we're already making Vikings. Like, we're already working on a pretty solid army against Skytoss. We have EMPs, we have Marines, we have Vikings. The thing is that if Bunny saw this, if he knew what was happening, then he would be throwing down more starports. He'd throw down maybe another 2 starports, a fusion core, and get ready for mass Viking production. Here we go. As he moves out, finally, looks like we do reveal ourselves. Carriers, they have been revealed. We dive on top of the army. Vikings are going to be hunted down. When every single Viking does fall, one escapes. Yeah, behind this, Bunny has to back up. Good EMP. Good EMP on the army. Behind this, +1 ship weapons is on the way. We are making 4 Vikings at a time. I mean, that's definitely helping. We are prioritizing Viking production. Scan reveals still more carriers on the way. Behind this, we're throwing down a wall of turrets. Oh, mine shot even doing a bit of friendly fire. So you have to be careful. Good EMP on the army. Yeah, and a good concave as well. Never going to be going off. Does not connect. Boys are being pulled. The spread is looking good, but do we have enough Terran here as NightMare? He's barely breaking through. The carriers are just too much. Where is the anti-air? The ghosts are gone. The Marines are gone. We only have Vikings. We get 1 carrier. We barely get a 2nd carrier as well. But we're running out of Vikings. We get a 3rd. It's so close. We get a 3rd carrier and a Colossus. NightMare, he barely wins that fight, but he can't keep pushing. He's running out of steam. He has to back off. He has to consolidate his army, and Bunny, he's barely holding on. He is barely holding on. Gonna be able to collapse here on more of these Vikings. Yeah, cutting off the army. Nova goes off, zoning away Bunny. Does zone him back. Ooh, and what's important here is that Bunny, he survives still with a better economy. He may have lost, what was it, like 16 workers. He pulled so many boys there in that defense. Sorry, 13 SCVs fell there. But we're still on 71 workers plus mules. NightMare, he's on a 3-base economy. He's on 66 drones, 66 probes, sorry. Barely 3 bases. NightMare was pretty committed there, and the longer this goes on, the better it is for Bunny. As his production was left unscathed. Again, his economy left unscathed as well. Yeah, Bunny, he's remaxing. He's faster here to remax. How many Vikings? 10 Vikings. 33 Marines, a good amount of EMPs. And what would we need to counteract this? I mean, it would be amazing if we had some storms, more disruptors, anything to zone away the army. We have 2 disruptors. We go for an adventurous blink. Very adventurous. Nova goes off, gets a single marauder. But again, a good spread, a good split, and Bunny may just have too much. We do have the overcharge. Bunny's respecting it. He backs off. Yeah, just waiting for reinforcements, fighting out of range. And Bunny, he is overwhelming. It was a good effort here out of NightMare to try to rush into Skytoss the way that he did. He almost got away with it. It was one of his only options there. After losing so many probes there to that mine drop. So I have to commend NightMare, but alas, it just was not enough. And Bunny, he's breaking through. Is breaking through. No more Colossi, no more carriers. We're down to a handful of Stalkers. We've broken the main army. GG gets called, and Bunny takes game number 1. Ooh, GG. GG, well played. Oh. No. Have we crashed? As I mentioned before that there was a bug occurring, and it looks like... Okay, we're okay. Because of that bug, we do need a moment here to set up game number 2, but regardless, GG, well played. Again, NightMare was up against the wall after losing so many workers, right? After losing so many probes to the mine drop. And what was his answer there? I mean, it was either to go all in, either to be hyper greedy, or be very tech greedy, or greedy in another sense, not just economically. His answer was to rush into that fleet beacon, into Sky Toss. He almost got away with it. It did go unscattered, and his push did very well for itself, don't get me wrong, but again, Bunny, he just had enough of an army. He was able to get a scout off, able to confirm what was going on, able to slow it down, able to pull back, kite back to his bases. And because of his better economy, he was able to build up, remax, and whittle away at NightMare. GG. GG, well played. A solid game there out of Bunny. And again, I'm really excited to see how these Widowmine builds evolve over time. We spoke about it, but because of the change to the Widowmine, because of the nerfs that did occur, it does mean that that Armory Widowmine build is weaker. Straight up, it is weaker than it otherwise would normally be. There are less Widowmines to be incorporated, but at the same time, it's got that surprise factor, I guess, because we're still in the early days of the new patch. Maybe something that NightMare didn't have in the back of his mind to be ready for, and now we're getting into game 2. And spawning in the bottom left-hand corner, we have our South Korean Protoss player, the Red Protoss, representing himself down in the series. Can he bounce back? It is NightMare. And spawning in the top right-hand corner, we have his opponent. We have the South Korean Terran player, the Blue Terran, representing his new team, Team Falcons. It is Bunny. Going for Proxy Racks. Sorry, I'm just blowing my nose. But yeah, pretty interesting here. So once again, we're going to be loading into one of the newer maps, Post-Youth. For those that are unaware or unfamiliar with the new maps, we have a free natural. The main base has a secondary base, and it is a hybrid base with gold minerals. It is insane here that we have a map like this in the map pool. At the same time, NightMare, he scouts, he checks, he does come across the proxy, sends a second probe. I believe the rack should finish, just barely. The Rax does complete. Ideally, the way this works, if this went unscattered, the Rax finishes, and that SCV would have gone behind the mineral line, would have thrown down a bunker, would have delayed the expansion. I say the mineral line would have been over here, behind this mineral line. And this Proxy Reaper would have dealt a little bit more damage. But so far, a really good scout out of NightMare. The SCV is forced back home because it's so low, and NightMare will have a much stronger defense here, back in his main base. And yeah, it's wild. It's wild that we have not just this map in the map pool, but there are a lot of really aggressive maps. There's Post-Youth, there's Dynasty, which has a pocket gold base. Like, there's just so many quirky and innovative maps here in the new map pool. That's, you know, a bit of a double-edged sword. It looks a lot of fun to cast, but at the same time, I do know that a lot of players have their thoughts on it just because there are no new standard maps, for those that are curious. Basically, every new map has its own quirk, has its own unique feature that makes things a little bit more chaotic. But I guess that's what ESL wants out of StarCraft right now, which is interesting, and we'll see how the meta shifts and how the meta settles with this more chaotic map pool. As Rax is floating back home, we've got our CC on the way. We're going to be settling into our game. Ooh, interesting. Okay, as a probe scout, does get eyes on lack of add-ons, does get eyes on the expansion. It's a robo opener. As a tech of choice, it is not a Twilight Council, it's not a Stargate, we do have a robo instead. This could lead into a couple of different directions. This is usually, or this can be a hard counter to a 3-Rax, for example, as we're going for a third CC before Starport. Okay. Very greedy. You don't often see this in this matchup in TvP, just this insanely fast third from Bunny. I mean, we had a fast third base in game number 1, if you remember, but this is insanely fast even compared to game 1. So very greedy build here out of Bunny. Meanwhile, NightMare again is going for a safe opener. What I was in the middle of saying was that this can be a hard counter to a 3-vax as we can get into fast cluster production with the fastest robotics bay. Army is forced back, and a big scout Bunny does get eyes on the robo. Sees that it's already done, sees that it's already building. But again, this can lead into a fast bay into Colossi or Disruptors. Likewise, this can also lead into a third gateway, into a second and third gateway into a fast Warp Prism. As we can see here, again, just a really safe opener out of NightMare, prioritizing Observers and getting into his Twilight Council. Now, this is a bit of a give and take. Because the Twilight Council is delayed, NightMare is stuck at home. I mentioned before that usually a robo opener is much more defensive, just because you relinquish map control. Unlike the other openers, you don't have Phoenixes or Oracles to be active on the map to harass to get economic damage done. Likewise, you don't have fast blink Stalkers for map control either. So, because of that, NightMare is kind of relinquishing map control, and because of that, NightMare can't punish what he's scouting. Big scout here out of NightMare. He does confirm the third CC, but honestly, NightMare can't do anything about it. NightMare, he sees the greed, and he just has to look upon it. Ooh, and our answer to it actually is going to be a Dark Shrine. Okay. So we're taking up even further with the fast robo. We have Immortal production, charges on the way, not blink, and we're sneaking into some Dark Templar. This is an interesting choice. As you can imagine, DTs are very hit and miss in this matchup, just because we do have access to detection with scans. The other scary thing here is because of the fast third orbital, I mean, that's extra scans. As we can see here, we have plenty of energy for scans, so it is risky to go for Dark Templar. Not impossible to work with. You know, if Bunny's macro is too good, if he mules too hard, then he won't have scans available. We could still get damage done. We'll see. It's all about the execution. We'll see if NightMare can make this pay off. Behind this, Bunny just building up towards his bio-tank army. Again, shouldn't be committed too heavily to tanks, only making a handful. Without Blink Stalkers, there's not much reason to commit too hard. As we can see, we're going for an add-on swap, and this should be for Widowmine production. As we no longer have that tech lab on the factory. Prism is moving out on the right-hand side. That's going to be to reinforce and to warp in Dark Templar across the map. Observer does have eyes on the main army.
Research complete.
Is aware of that at least. No turrets, bear that in mind. Again, Bunny, he hasn't seen much of anything. He has not scanned the main base. Bunny is in the dark. DTs are waddling in. And how many scans are we going to have available? None in the main. Ooh, no scans yet. We need a little bit more time here for a scan available at the third base. Likewise, DTs, they do get into the main. Turrets are still on the way. Workers are gonna be going down. And again, despite the 3 orbitals, there are no scans available. Probes, SCVs are falling. Oh, can we get the turrets? Looks like we barely can. Turret is gonna finish. DT still wreaking havoc at the natural, at the third, in every single base. The Prism, no! The Prism does get hunted down, but we get 15 SCVs. Very nice damage done here by NightMare. And we still have that one Dark Templar alive in the main. Or even out here at the third. As the army moves out, the DCs, they come back in. No, sure, they come back in. They wreak havoc here in the bases, and Bunny, he turns back around. He's racing back home. We got 6 SCV kills. Again, well worth it for NightMare. Turrets weren't done in time, obviously no Raven. And thankfully for NightMare, there were no scans. And now Bunny gets across the map, but this push is so delayed. Again, it is so late. We do have 2 tanks, but the Zealots are getting on top of the tanks. Mine shots going off, forcing even a bit of friendly fire. The tanks go down. Colossus arrives just in time, and NightMare, he holds. He holds quite easily. He only lost gateway units there, preserved everything else. He's on 4 bases. Bunny's still on 3. As we're going for a triple drop towards the main. Bold move. NightMare, though, is in position. Oh, does focus on one of those medevacs. Full medevac goes down. GG gets called. And just like that, NightMare bounces back, tying up the series 1-1. Let's go. GG. Okay. Bunny, Papi, or even NightMare. As it looks like we do have, again, a couple of lobby bugs occurring here, but regardless, GG, well played. NightMare, he gambled a little bit there with his Dark Shrine response to the fast third base, but as we saw, the stars aligned, right? There were no scans available. As a result, the Dark Templar, they killed, what was it, 15, 16 SCVs. They were able to come back in, get more damage done, and of course, they scouted, they confirmed the move out, they even forced the army to come back home, delaying the push, and made sure that NightMare was so well prepared for it back at home. GG. And again, because of the robot opener of NightMare, he had already built up Immortals, he had already worked towards the Colossi, he had everything he needed to defend. Bunny kind of playing to the beat of NightMare's drum there, and now we find ourselves in the ace match. We find ourselves getting into game number 3. Let's go. This is ESL Korea? Kind of. It's ESL Open Cup Asia. ESL Open Cup Asia. I think it's only called ESL Korea on Wikipedia. But you can find it under that name on Wikipedia if that's what you prefer. But here we go. We're getting into game number 3. We're getting into the ace match. And how will this story end? How will the story unfold? As spawning in the bottom right-hand corner of Site Delta, we have our South Korean Protoss player bouncing back in game number 2. Can he go even further? Can he take the series? It is NightMare. And spawning in the top left-hand corner, we have his opponent. We have the South Korean Terran player representing his new team, Team Falcons. It is Bunny. Here we go. Whew. Oh boy. And as we settle into this, a big shout out to Green Soup in the chat. Ga, papi, ga. Thank you so much. Or I say thank you so much. Big shout out to Green Soup. Thank you so much for dropping by. For those that are curious, Green Soup, he is an ESL admin. Without Green Soup, this event would not be run anywhere near as smoothly. Would not, or possibly not be run at all, actually. So big shout out to Green Soup and the other ESL admins out there working on all the Open Cups. People like Green Soup, of course, Ice Scar, Sinistro, every blue moon, Zatros as well. Big shout out to all the ESL admins. And many others. There's too many to count. It's a big team. Big team, and they put a lot of work in for esports, for StarCraft. So much love. Much love, papi. As we are settling into an economic opener from Bunny. As a reminder, last game he did go for a proxy. This time a Rax Expand into a factory. Just a single gas opener out of Bunny. Meanwhile, NightMare going for a standard opener himself. As we load into Side Delta, we can calm things down a little bit. You know, this time there's no free pocket base, or there's no free main or natural. No shenanigans like that. Side Delta, in a way, a little bit more defendable. As we have a ramp coming into the natural, it's very spread out, very widespread, maybe a better way of putting it. Basically, you spread yourself quite thin as the game progresses. It can favor more dynamic, aggressive play. As we're getting into our tech of choice, and this time it is not a robo, this time it is a Twilight Council. With a Twilight Council opener, this should be Blink. Should be a Blink-based opener. And we're going to be keeping our eye on how many gateways. Is this going to be 2-gate Blink, 3-gate, or 4 gateways instead? The amount of gateways would signify how aggressive or how defensive we want it to be. There are different levels and variations of Blink-based play. So we'll see what NightMare decides to go for. For now, going to be threatening a shade. Pulling back. You have that second and now third gateway on the way. Okay, so for now it's going to be 3-gate Blink. With this, we can be quite assertive on the map. This should still be leading into a third base, into an expansion. And we can apply a bit of pressure, but should be focusing on teching and transitioning out of it. as NightMare is not going for the most economic variation of this. Oh, my apologies, as we do actually throw down another gateway. And here we go. That is going to be a 4th gateway from NightMare. MaxPax, is that you? Bit of a MaxPax specialist. It's a build that he's been known for just because of his execution of it and how successful he's been. Again, I was talking about 3-gate blink. Scratch all of that because we have 4 gateways instead. With 4-gate blink, we can be very aggressive, very assertive. This is not an all-in, bear that in mind. The 3rd base is going to be delayed, though. It's going to be delayed a little bit longer, and we do have to commit, we do have to get damage done. It's going to be on Bunny to scout, to respond, to react, and to get a read on what exactly is happening as he's going for his own mind drop. Now, this mind drop isn't really designed to get damage done, it's designed to scout. It's designed to, wreak a little bit of havoc, maybe get some probe kills, more importantly, get a read on the tech, and we do get eyes on the Twilight Council. The boys are a bit of a late reaction. Oh god! The mine shot is going to go off. 4 probes go down. That could have been so much worse. The main base was looking very chaotic. What's important though, Bunny, he saw the Twilight Council, saw an extra gateway. Should be aware of at least 3. As of course he knows that there's a Reaper Cliff gateway and most likely a gateway at the natural. Prism is moving out. NightMare is setting up for his counterattack, and back at home, what do we have? A bunker on the low ground. We do not have a tank, by the way. Bunny, he's exposed. He's going for a reactor. Uh-oh. He's skipping the tech lab. He's going into Marauder production instead. Bold move here out of Bunny. Very bold move, relying on Marauders instead of tanks. As I say that, NightMare, instead of expanding, that is going to be 2 extra gateways and a Templar Archives. Stalkers, they get across the map. Basically, instead of warping in, we're throwing down tech and additional gateways, so no extra warp-ins across the map. 1 Stalker goes down. Getting 3 SCVs, that's an okay amount of damage. But again, you can see NightMare just rushing into Storm of all things. Has a mine shot. Oh, not quite going to be going off. Trying to zone back the army. Another 4 SCVs go down. I'll say that, sorry. 4 SCVs in total go down. NightMare is going to back off Bunny. He has defended quite well. But again, a big reason for that is because NightMare did not commit. He did not commit across the map. Drop is coming in. Storm is not done. The High Templar. We go for the feedbacks. High Templar forced to morph into Archons. Nice pick off there out of Bunny. He gets a pylon. And he can stand his ground. No shield battery to pick up. We just drop into the natural. Storm has now finished, but we don't have a Storm available. We go for the shield battery as well. Probes are falling. This drop is getting far too much done. It's getting far too much damage done. We even focus on the Templar Archives. Oh my god, massive pick off. Unfortunately, we don't deny Storm, but regardless, no more High Templar. Yeah, only a handful of Storms remaining here. High Templar looking exposed. Mine shots going off. NightMare, he is going to be able to hold on. But he is vulnerable. Bunny going to be reinforcing. Now going for his 3rd. And we'll see if Bunny can pull NightMare apart. He's got a bit of a tri-pronged attack. He's got a double drop towards the north. He's got another move out towards the center. He has a medevac drop here towards the bottom right, but it's only a single medevac, only 2 Marauders. Sorry, 2 Widow Mines. Yeah, it looks like we're just consolidating our army, bringing everything together. There are 3 High Templar. We do have some Storms available. They're in the War Prism. Speaking of, there's a first Storm, there's a second. Pretty big Storm there on those Marauders, and we have 1 Storm left. Army going to be cutting back. Big mine shots there on the Zealots. NightMare is holding. At the same time, Widow Mine Drill comes in. Oh! Ooh. Big connection, 4 probes go down. Oh my god! Bigger connection there, 11 workers go down. Ay, ay, ay. Bunny making some magic happen here with these drops as he drops into the main base. NightMare is out of position, racing back home. Do we go for the Templar Archives? Once again, we get 2 High Templar. Very valuable pickups. We count well against Zealots. Pulling back out. The drop play continues as Bunny takes his 3rd. And even though Bunny's been stuck on 2 bases for so long, he still has a comparable, if not better, economy than that of NightMare. 51 probes against the 52 SCVs. So again, the pressure has been on Bunny to get some economic damage done, and he's been doing it. He has been quite successful here. Going back for another drop into the main. This time we're in position. Likewise, Zella Rambai is going to be forced back. Bunny looks like he's going to be bringing everything together here. The storm! Oh. Big storm on the army. Feedback takes down the medevac. Good reaction at NightMare. That was a pretty close call. So Bunny is going to be pulling back. Okay, the very mobile army, just Fire or Marine Marauder Ghost. Incorporating a couple of Vikings. Main army is going to be clashing. Zella Rambai comes in. Oh, Bunny is forced to pull back. Does manage to defend at the same time. Bunny gets caught with his pants down. 2 medevacs go down. 3 medevacs go down. Ay, ay, ay. As NightMare just pulls Bunny's attention apart. Gets a good amount of damage done. NightMare is fighting back. Behind this, thankfully, we're not just relying on storms. Colossal production has commenced. The problem here is that I would say that Bunny, he's ahead in tech. I mean, he's ahead in a lot of aspects. Because of his better economy, that leads into a better army. That means that even though we're now working on Colossi, we already have the answer. We already have Vikings amassing. It's still an uphill battle here for NightMare. Zella Rambai catches a ghost. Winter Mind's going to be able to deal with at least one Zella Rambai. Yeah, the other does crumble. And NightMare relying so much on these storms. And that's the only way that NightMare can win a fight, to be honest, is with the most perfect storms available. Without them, Bunny, he can just EMP and just mow his way through this. He can just roll NightMare over. How many do we have? 7 High Templar. I do love the spread. You can see here the High Templar, they're all spread out. Making sure we can minimize the effectiveness of EMPs. And NightMare, he just has to survive. Good EMP here on 1 High Templar. He gets one. Ooh, the storms they're going to be landing. 1 storm lands, but the Colossi go down. The Vikings, they go ham. Where are the ghosts, though? The ghosts are not here. Big storm on the Marines. And NightMare, he is forcing this back. The problem here, though, is that he lost all of his Colossi. This was not a cheap trade for NightMare. You can see here he lost his Colossi, the Prism, High Templar, 22 Zealots. And Bunny, he could afford those losses. NightMare cannot. He is pumping out 2 Colossi at a time. Again, NightMare, he needs a little bit of time here to lick his wounds. The scary thing is, after that fight, NightMare didn't kill any Vikings. Like, the Viking count is still very impressive. It's terrifying. So, Colossi aren't really too threatening here. Not to Bunny. As Bunny's going to be calming things down, backing off. Of course, he has to rebuild his ghost count. NightMare settling into his 4-base economy. Something that would be amazing here once we get a handful of Colossi as we deny the 5th is Disruptors. Now, big Novas and big connections aren't really what we're going to be looking for if we do get into Disruptors, but more than anything, just zoning back the army. Nice pickoff. We get a full medevac. But unlike High Templar, Disruptors are unaffected by EMPs. which is why that's such a great zoning tool here for the Protoss army. I don't fault NightMare for prioritizing Colossi though, just because they are consistent splash damage. The problem is that I'm not sold on the Colossi just because of how many Vikings there are. And Bunny, he's remaxed. He has remaxed, he's moving out. NightMare bringing his army together. Looking at the units tab, we have 4 Colossi, 6 High Templar. And even though Bunny is maxed out, it looks like he is giving NightMare time, or giving NightMare the opportunity to max out as well. NightMare is keeping up in the supply somewhat. Needs a little bit more time. Bunny going for the, thinking about that dive. There we go, leads the charge with an EMP. Couple of ghosts get feedback. Big storm on the army. Oh my god, we just take it to the face. Get a massive storm there. Meanwhile, good EMPs from Bunny. But more storms are available. Oh my god, I spoke too soon. Once again, the EMPs do connect. At the same time, a big Zealot run by does catch out a ghost, does catch out some SCVs. And Bunny thinks about turning back around. He doesn't though. Zealots pushing towards the natural, wreaking havoc in a lot of bases. A lot of bases are under fire. 9 SCVs go down, we catch more reinforcements. We deny any kind of mining here at the third, and Bunny still doesn't gain any ground. And because he's taking so long, more High Templar, more storms. More High Templar and storms are coming in. Little Mine gets baited out. The Zealots are finally going to get cleaned up, not without killing even more SCVs. Here we go, Bunny does end up committing here, gets a High Templar, forces an Archon. Ooh, once again takes the storm to the face. And we still have more storms available. Ooh, even forcing friendly fire. And just like that, NightMare, he's going to be able to clean this up. Cleans up all the Widow Mines, forces Bunny back home. And behind this Bunny, look at his worker count. He's down to 47 SCVs. Again, that Zealot run by may have just won NightMare this game. It's still so close though. Oh my god, the EMPs are insane. We blanket the entire army of NightMare. EMPs are good, and they might just be too good. Oof. Oh my god. We just walk into the storms. We take the storms to the face. NightMare, he holds. Again, it's becoming a little bit scrappy here, a little bit of a slugfest, but it looks like NightMare is going to be able to chase us down. Once again, Zealots get across the map. They get 12 SCV kills. And Bunny, he no longer has an economy. His economy is in shambles. NightMare, are we overextending? No, we're not. We have enough. And NightMare, he has done it. This was a rough game for him. Things are looking dire, but GG gets called. NightMare, he bounces back, and he will take the series 2-1, eliminating Bunny from ESL Open Cup Asia. GG. GG, well played. Congratulations here to NightMare. Again, things weren't looking too hot for him. Things are looking a little bit dicey there, as NightMare, he was being pulled apart initially. He was losing a lot of High Templar, he was losing a lot of probes, was losing his Colossi, but he was able to just hunker down, get up to 4 bases, and build up towards a higher Colossus and High Templar count. And Bunny also gave him a lot of time as well, right? It wasn't just NightMare defending, but also Bunny second guessing himself, you know, seeing the army of NightMare, respecting it quite a lot, and backing off, giving him breathing room, giving him the time that he needed to build up to max out. And yeah, the storms were pretty insane. Not just the storms though, as we mentioned, the Zealot counterattacks, the Zealot run-bys. Because Bunny was maxed out, he had very little to defend back at home. You know, his army was on the map, very few reinforcements. Because of that, Zealot run-bys or harassment in general is that much more difficult to deal with. GG. GG, well played. Congratulations. With that, NightMare advances on into the next round, and we have to take a moment here to have a look at the bracket ourselves.